I'm Leah Green and this is Michelle Carden. We are the co-founders of LM Speech, and we are both speech-language pathologists that specialize in visual supports. So today we want to go over the starter kits that you'll be receiving from the Babies Can't Wait program. And we want to go over a little bit about the importance of the visual supports and then explain the boards that will be in the kits along with the picture cards that you can use with the boards. So the first thing to remember with visual supports is that children with autism, ADHD, developmental delays, or behavior disorders often have a hard time understanding and following spoken instructions. So those that decreased understanding can lead to increased frustration, anxiety, and problem behaviors. So by pairing spoken language with visual supports, that decreases these behaviors and encourages more of a positive communicative environment. Visual supports also promotes independence. So it gives a child a way of communicating, whether by pointing or using picture symbols, and then also communicating verbally. So it really helps them create that independence and feel more confident when communicating. So the first board that you will receive in the kit is our First Then board. So Michelle's going to show that to you now.
And the First Then board shows 2 activities at a time. First, you're going to do this activity and then this activity. We recommend that the first activity usually be the unpreferred activity. So if the child has difficulty with eating, say first we're going to eat lunch, and then you can go outside and swing. We recommend that you do this with a timer, and each child is different, so you might have to start with like 30 seconds or a minute and then increase the timer as the tolerance increases. And they realize that once they finish this activity, then they get the preferred activity. On this one, I know a lot of children have difficulty getting dressed. So first, we're going to get dressed. Then you can have your snack.
It's also important, if the child's able, you want them to be able to choose what goes on the then square. So a child's going to be a lot more motivated to get through the task on the first square if they know that they've chosen and picked what goes on the then square and what they're working for.
Right. So if you prefer for them to have a book when they're finished, that might not be motivating for that child. So therefore, the First Then board is not going to be as effective because you're choosing what the child is working for instead of the child choosing for themselves.
All right, our next board that comes in the kit is the choice board. So Michelle will show that to you. The choice board has 3 squares, so you can put 3 choices for the child to pick from. Giving that the choice board allows a limited number of options to the child, but also leaves the child in control of choosing what they want. That way the child feels that, again, gains that sense of independence. They feel more independent and they get to choose what they're working for or what they want. And allowing a child to make their own choices increases communication and decreases any negative behaviors that might be associated with a child not being able to communicate what they want. So again, if a child's first starting with this board and they are not verbally communicating, it is okay if they point to the picture. They may want to take the picture off or move it and hand it to their communication partner. And then eventually they're going to learn the vocabulary associated with the picture cards and then start, hopefully, verbally communicating. But any of those forms of communication are definitely efficient.
Yes, we get lots of questions about what if the child doesn't recognize the symbol on the cards, and it's just a learning process. You teach the child to associate the item or the activity with that picture card.
Another way to do it is also when if you want to pair the picture card and that vocabulary word with sign language. That's another way you can
So for like
do it
milk.
as well. So again, that's giving the child more ways of communicating. Our next board is going to be our step-by-step board, which Michelle will show you. The step-by-step board, as you can see, has 6 squares, and this breaks routines into smaller, more manageable parts. And so it helps the child complete task and routine more independently.
Right, so this step-by-step board shows the nighttime routine. First, the child is going to eat dinner. Then we're going to take a bath. Then put on pajamas. Next, brush your teeth, go potty. And then on the 6th one, it could be, read a book or go to bed. And you can have the picture of the child's bed on the last square.
And we find it helpful as the child is going through the step-by-step to have them remove the picture cards. That gives them another visual display of the things they've completed and what they have left before a routine or task is complete.
Right. And the child enjoys doing that because they feel successful with that activity.
Right, and a sense of accomplishment with the removing of the picture cards.
Right. We also set up another example where you can use it for your activities throughout the day. So first maybe you're going to eat breakfast and then you're going to the park and then you might go to lunch somewhere like Chick-fil-A and then go home. So it's just going to show the child what they're going to do and when they go home. And you can carry this in the car with you so that way the child is able to follow it throughout the day.
And again, if you are just starting off with a child with the step-by-step board, it may be a little overwhelming to start with all 6 squares filled out. And so you can start with 2 or 3 squares. And once the child feels successful with those, then you can continue adding to it. So 4, 5, 6, as the child becomes more used to and more familiar with the board. So that's our step-by-step. So now we would like to go over some just important things to remember when you're working with children and visual supports. And the first important thing to remember is the placement of the boards. So you always want to make sure that it's accessible to the child. So you don't want to place it too high on a wall, behind a desk or something they can't reach. You always want to put it, very visible and within a child's reach. You also want to make it portable. So Michelle and I recommend using the command strips, and they're the picture frame command strips. And you place a strip on the back of the board and then a strip against the wall, and they snap into the picture frame. That way you can snap it into place and then remove it very easily. That way the child, if you, again, like Michelle said, if you're going out in the community, you can pull it off the wall and take it with you.
Right, and for the cards, you're going to receive 20 picture cards with the boards. You can store those several different ways. What we recommend is that the cards that you're not using with the child, to keep them high up so the children aren't able to come and remove them off the wall, or so we either recommend using little Velcro dots on the inside of cabinets and placing them up high in the cabinet, or placing them in a jewelry organizer, like a hanging organizer.
Yep, that you can put
that you can put in the closet. And
you just want to definitely have a designated place for the picture cards you're not using. Therefore, you can keep track of them, and the child's not,
Right.
using them to play, and then they become, lost. And
right, and hopefully the family, as time goes on, will increase the amount of picture cards that they have, and so that way organization is just the key to successfully doing the visual supports for the child.
Another important thing to consider is to train everyone involved with the child on the visual supports. So if there's a babysitter, grandparents, therapists, teachers, anyone that comes into contact with that child, it's very important to train them on the visual supports and how the child's using that. So we find that it's a lot more successful when the child's using this routinely throughout their day and consistently. Another thing is just not to start everything at once. You don't want anyone to become overwhelmed when using visual supports, the parent, the child, the teacher, anyone. So you want to make a plan. So if you find that your child's having difficulty in the morning eating breakfast, then you might want to start with the first then board. And on the first then card, on the first card, you would put eat breakfast, and then again have the child pick what they want to do after they finish their breakfast.
Right.
So you want the child and the caregiver to feel successful. So whatever that success is, you want to stick with that for a while.
And, let the families know that they can be flexible in what they decide. So if at first you decide to work on the nighttime routine, but you realize that dinner time is more important and you're having difficulty there, and the family feels comfortable, let them change their plan and start using it at dinner time instead, until they feel comfortable to implement all of the boards all of the time.
And one last thing is that we do want to remind you guys that this is a starter kit. So we chose 3 of the most commonly used boards and 20 of the most commonly used picture cards to get you started. As the families and children feel more successful with this and want to add to their inventory, you can purchase picture cards through our company. You can print picture cards offline through Google Images. You can
look through magazines and cut out pictures that way. Newspapers, food items can come from like coupon books.
Yeah, so, and you can take real life photos of their objects or places in the community you may go to and use those on the boards as well. You can cut them out, you can laminate them, you can put clear tape over them to make them a little more sturdy. But any way you want to add to your inventory of picture cards is a great way of continuing using the visual support.
Right. And we use 2-inch by 2-inch cards. And on the board, there's a border, so it would be easy to cut the pictures to the size that you would need to use them.
Okay, so that is all that comes in the kits, and we know that's a lot of information. And if you guys have any questions on how to use the boards or want any ideas or suggestions on different ways to use them, feel free to email us. You can reach us at info, that's INFO, at lmspeech.com, and we'd be happy to answer any of your questions.
Yes, and I also do want to add that our boards are waterproof, so you can use them in the bathroom. You don't have to worry about drinks spilling on them. You can sanitize them by wiping them down with soap and water. And in the same way with the cards, it's on a plastic material, so you're able to clean them easily. So you want to tell your families about that.
All right, well, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.